Waiting for tonight. Oh, when you would be here in my arms. Hello, and welcome to the next exciting episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, the podcast where Matt and Todd go see a movie at our local Regal cinema, and then we talk about it, how we feel about it, should you see it, should you not see it, and any kind of random tangent information we can go on to help bring it to you. Today, with our special guest, Eden Cummins.
Hello!
I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And yes, welcome to this episode. And welcome, Eden. This is our first guest appearance. Anyone outside of the Matt and Todd duo for a movie in theater. We watched a movie tonight. We watched the movie Venom, Let There Be Carnage, which is the sequel to Venom.
You'd be correct.
There was just so much carnage.
There was. So here we are. We're outside the theater, chilling, watching the world go by in the parking lot, and we're here to tell you about Venom, Let There Be Carnage. So first, who's in this movie? Many of the main characters from Venom, which I just watched yesterday, make their return appearance. We've got Tom Hardy as Venom / whatever his name is, Eddie Brock. Yes, thank you. We've got Michelle Williams in this. We've got Woody Harrelson in this as the character of Carnage / whatever his name is.
Cletus Cassidy.
Thank you. Cletus Cassidy, the serial killer, who has a very, very brief appearance in an after-credit scene in the first Venom movie, with a lot more hair, actually. That's where I tap out. But Todd, I think you have at least one more person.
Yes. I cannot remember the woman's name in the movie. We just keep calling her Scream.
Well, Shriek.
Shriek.
Francis...
Something?
Bourbon? Bourgeois?
Francis something.
Yeah.
Is Naomi Harris.
Okay.
She's been in a lot of stuff. I recognize her from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, which angered me a little bit because I dislike those movies. So, they're taking up precious space in my mind at this point that I don't know why. I'm still hanging on to them.
Purge them.
But that's it. I can't think of anyone else, really.
I don't think he is one, but the cop reminds me of a Wahlberg.
I was going to say, I think
Wahlberg.
he's Donnie Wahlberg, but I don't think he is.
No, we're thinking of Saw, where
Yes.
Donnie Wahlberg was a cop. But
Yes.
like the same energy, all up and down.
All right. So, a few people are in this, and I was happy to see that they brought back even the convenience store lady is brought back from the first movie. Mrs. Kim. So what's this movie all about? Well, like I said, this is a sequel movie. So you've got Tom Hardy's character with the symbiote Venom, which he picks up in the first movie and continues to have in this movie. He kind of is a down on his luck, but coming back up to the top kind of reporter guy who does, in the first movie he does like all these exposés. It's not clear what exactly he's been doing in the second movie to make any kind of money, but he's still some kind of reporter type person. So he goes, he's requested by the serial killer Cletus Cassidy. Yes.
Correct.
To go do an interview and share his life story with the guy. And so he goes there, and Venom is there with him, and he takes some clues and figures out kind of where the bodies are buried from the serial killer, which they've never known. And you get a little bit of backstory on on Cletus Cassidy. We find out that he grew up and was in an orphanage, and then had a romance with this superpowered lady who later is announced as someone called Shriek, who has superpowered voice, and they were separated when they were in this kind of orphanage type house, and he is trying to get a message to her via Brock. What's his last name?
Eddie Brock.
Eddie Brock. Brock is his last name. Sorry, having trouble with names tonight. But so the serial killer is sending a message to his long lost love, who's in a secret psychiatric facility and is prevented from using her voice in a meaningful way to escape, although she could if precautions were not taken. So that's kind of the setup. After Eddie Brock finds out where all these bodies are, and the police sort of take them away, and then things go downhill for Cletus Cassidy. He's going to be executed, and invites Eddie Brock to come watch the proceedings. And that's where things get interesting, because through a series of events, Cletus Cassidy bites Eddie Brock's finger and transfers a small amount of symbiote material, which develops into a full-grown symbiote, which is later dubbed Carnage. And so there you see the Let There Be Carnage part of the title is in reference to this other alien symbiote who takes over Cletus Cassidy's body and gives him superpowers. And all of this happens right at the death scene, and Cletus breaks out of the death chamber and breaks out of prison and goes on a rampage and finds his girlfriend, the incredible shrieking woman, and then there's a big showdown between Venom and Carnage and their respective hosts. And that, I think, is as much as we need to share about the plot without giving spoilers. Did I miss anything?
Not really. I mean, there's a big part of the movie that's about just Venom and Eddie's relationship kind of
True.
stuff, but, you know.
We'll get into that.
It's there.
We'll get into that. Okay. So, Todd, your thoughts on this movie, Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
So this is going to be, I think, hard for me, because this is going to be one of those movies where, as I think about it more, I'll either tilt to liking it more or I'll start to dislike it more. And so I'm having trouble finding my starting point. On a whole, I like the movie. Like, it wasn't the best thing I've ever seen, but it also, like, it wasn't a waste of time by any stretch of the imagination. And it's really only like an hour and 25-minute movie. It's like really short, pretty tight, I guess. There were some parts where I was like, all right, let's get back to something happening or something. But yeah, I can already tell the biggest part of this movie that I didn't like is the whole Shriek, everything to do with her and Cletus's relationship and stuff like that. Like, I think I would enjoy this movie if that whole thing was gone. Like, her whole character didn't need it, because it ties me up in ways that I don't like to be tied up. I'm like, okay, well, so far this universe that we know only has aliens. Like, that's what we're dealing with right now. And here's a person who just popped up powers, and we're like, okay. And it just kind of really sidetracked me. I felt like I couldn't bounce back from just being like, why is this in here? Like, it doesn't do a whole lot, but to kind of introduce, I don't know, the love interest for Cletus, and fill in his backstory a little bit, like, but she's just kind of there, and then they're like kind of Bonnie and Clyde for a while. It's like I got lost in all that. Like I could be on my own. Maybe the masses will really like her, but and it's not anything against Naomi Harris or how she acted or anything like that. I just felt like that was a misstep for me.
Are you sure it's not related to her being in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies?
It very well could be. I'm still not the biggest fan of those movies, but I just kind of felt like from everything, and again, as always, I'm trying to separate my comic self with my movie self, and honestly, I don't know a whole lot about Carnage or anything like that. I just always thought Cletus Cassidy, homicidal maniac, psychotic, kind of stuff like that, and it's almost like I was getting lost or not appreciating really the fact that they tried to humanize him at different points. Like, here's this girl that he loves. Here's this addition to a tragic kind of backstory to make you kind of feel a little bit. Like, to me, we've already gotten plenty of, like, complex villains where, like, oh, they're really doing this because something happened in the past and stuff like that. I was really looking forward to Carnage just being straight Carnage. Like, just straight, there's no plan about it. I'm just out killing. Like, I'm just doing my Carnage thing. And it got a little over story driven, in my opinion. But outside of that, I thought everything was still pretty good effects. Tom Hardy is still doing Tom Hardy in this role. Like, it's equal parts good, equal parts funny, and equal parts and Woody Harrelson was pretty okay. Like, I felt like he could have, like, brought it a little bit more, but you know, everything was like in the okay to good area. I just got really tripped up in these, like, specific parts that I was like, I think it would be a better movie if this stuff wasn't in it. Like, and it got more, I don't know, we had more time to really flesh out fighting or do something else. I don't know. So I enjoyed the movie. I'm going to have a hard time landing on a specific number, and I don't know, maybe this is one of those movies where I'll appreciate it more as I think about it over the next couple of days, or maybe I'll start to pick it apart and be like, I don't know. But otherwise, I had an enjoyable time no matter what. Like, it being such a short movie, it's like you can't really get too bogged down in any scene because they were like right next to the next one, right next to So, yeah, not my best review because I'm feeling lost in my thoughts right now. But that's where I'm going to end because I could tangent all night. So, Eden?
Did you notice how this movie had the same story beats as Night at the Roxbury? Because I sure did. Like, I really, I went into this expecting it to be a just messy jumble of CGI fighting things, and that's exactly what I got. So, it's exactly what it says on the tin. Like, the thing I liked about the first Venom movie and this one is that both of them are kind of like these stylistic throwbacks to those really early 2000 Blades and your Daredevils and your Fantastic Fours, which, like, objectively weren't great, but were just a lot of fun to have action movies with comic book people in them. And it made me feel that same way. It didn't have to be accurate. I didn't have to, like, think about it. I didn't have to, like, have in the back of my mind, like, a compare and contrast. I knew it wasn't going to be, like, lined up, and it just kind of worked for me that way. I felt like 3 movies in one, which was wild, and there was a lot of whiplash. I think that, like, I also had a problem with the Shriek character, but only because she existed as just living foreshadow. Like, she was just there, and I guess to move along Cletus's motivations and his plot and to kind of, like, give him a reason to do stuff. But, like, her power is what it is, and you kind of figured that it was going to come into play. Like,
right.
There were a lot of like elements that were just like, all right, well, we're here now. Seeing that it was directed by Andy Serkis was one of those, like, that now makes sense, like, things where I'm not familiar with what else he's directed, but the CGI all the time felt really heavy, and I get it now. My weird universe bogged down thing wasn't the introduction of powered people. It was, where do they get all the mass for the tendrils? Because like there's like a point where one or both of them are like building sized kind of, and just like, where'd that come from? There's a lot of like internal logic stuff that was kind of like, all right, but I enjoyed it for the chaotic mess that it was. It was the exact thing I expected. I'm glad to have come out to a theater, which I'm still not like 100% on board with in the year of our Lord 2021. So like it was good to do that and kind of have that experience on the screen. I think that played really well. Like it was just a very enjoyable time, which is exactly what I thought it would be.
Boom. There it is.
What you got, Matt?
Well, I have the following things. I offer the perspective of having watched the first movie last night and then coming right into this movie today. I think that the symbiote fighting scenes were better in the first movie. I thought that the symbiote we got, Carnage, has way too many arms, and it's really distracting. And I think more than one symbiote in a movie is too many. From a too much is going on with CGI fighting, and yes, I know that there were two in the first movie also, but I thought that the fight was a little cleaner between them in that movie.
Well, yeah, they didn't
arms.
have. Yes,
Less arms.
just have somebody. It might have been able to create weapons like blades, but it still only had like two, maybe a third arm popped up here and there. But
Right on.
yeah, Carnage was like a straight 10 arms at all times, like are flying around and you don't know what's going on.
Yes.
Do y'all not discuss like the golden rule of superhero movies, where superheroes are only allowed to fight reverse versions of themselves?
Oh yeah.
Like that's just kind of like a thing.
Fair theorem. We haven't discussed that before, no. So thank you for bringing that to the podcast.
Ant-Man can only fight Yellow Jacket, like, and then
yes.
like another person with like weird size and space powers. Like it's just every time they introduce a villain, it is always like a tweak on the person themselves. Iron Man fights other Iron Men like in every freaking movie.
This is true. It happens. Well, so I didn't like that part of it. The over-armed CGI fighting between symbiotes. I do always appreciate seeing Jen from Dawson's Creek pop up in any movie. I'd like some more Joey Potter in different movies, but, you know, she seems to be doing not too much these days. But I'll always mark for Dawson's Creek characters popping up.
Is that Renee Zellweger?
What?
Michelle Williams.
No, Michelle Williams.
Yeah, I mean they're the same person.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it is. That is. I don't want to wish
Okay.
for our lives to be over.
Yes. So, what did I like about this movie other than Jen from Dawson's Creek? Well, I liked the kind of story that Todd, you alluded to, where we got what's his name, Brock.
Eddie Brock.
It's not my night. Eddie Brock's division from and falling out from being inhabited by Venom. Venom goes off at one point in the movie and inhabits other people, and then they come back together for their big fight scene at the end. That was kind of fun, and Jen from Dawson's Creek got to be inhabited by the symbiote for a little bit again, just as she did in the first movie. So that's always a plus. And I would say overall, I enjoyed myself at this film. I don't think it was a great movie, but I think it was fine. And there's a nice little after mid-credit scene that was pretty interesting, which, of course, we won't spoil for you, but just to tell you it's there. And okay, we have a bicyclist approaching
With a
With dog.
with a dog and a light. This is interesting.
They're just taking their dog for a run?
Yeah, something like that.
All right.
Looks
Nice.
like a Best Buy uniform.
Yeah, could be. There's no Best Buy near here though
No.
anymore.
Which is wild.
Well,
Don't
Anyway.
worry, there's usually one of these per podcast.
Yes.
When we're in this corner, there's typically a car over there for which we always assume is empty, and then near the end of the podcast, the lights will turn on and it'll drive away, and it's like,
yeah.
or random people just walking by us, or some animal friends that might show up.
You never know.
Yeah.
You gestured and I thought they were there and not yet.
Nope.
No.
I just like to get everyone's hopes up.
Well, those are my thoughts on this movie. They're not multifaceted or long, but they are what they are.
Yeah. I will say, like, something that you said, Eden, that I, as I'm thinking about it, I'm
The
like,
Roxbury thing.
well, yes, not only that, but, like, there is a place for these type of movies, whether or not it be super good or super bad. I like the fact that there's no world-ending event in this movie. Like, it's just kind of, it's pretty simplistic. Maybe the city is slightly in danger at times, but that's really, like, it is not, like, the world's going to explode if you don't stop this thing. And that is kind of like every superhero movie at this point. It is a massive world-ending event. And it's nice to see things taken back to the streets.
The stakes for this movie are explored in, like, Eddie Brock walking past 3 TVs at different points with newscasts on them.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only way you know that something more than our A-plot is happening. Like, it is really I mean, it's just really nice to just go and be like, what a dumb comic book movie. Like, it's just nice to be able to universally have the opinion that this doesn't have to be good, or I don't have to defend it. My identity's not going to be wrapped up in this. Like, it's just like, okay, I watched Tom Hardy be in 2 movies at once, and some CGI stuff, and all right,
Yep.
good work.
Yeah. So, how many chickens are we going to give this movie? Which
Okay.
comes into play in Venom and Eddie's relationship. I'm not going to go any further than that because it is, it is a comic relief. You want to be not told everything about it. So, obviously 5 chickens being the best because then you have plenty of chickens and, you got yourself a little chicken party.
No
0,
chicken spoilers.
Yeah. 0 is bad because then you have no chicken. Period.
Correct.
Like, whether it be alive or you killed it and fried it up, you got nothing. So, Eden.
Can I get a point of clarification? Can I get a point of order?
Sure.
8 guest spots in, I'm going to ask this question.
Okay.
Is this like, this is just like gut instinct feeling about it, or gut instinct how good I thought it was?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just the number that calls to me by whatever rubric is in my heart.
Right.
Sing my heart song in
Correct.
this moment.
Yes.
As long as your gut is involved, you've chosen well.
All right.
Yes. Yes.
If you are thinking any more than that, then you're outside the bounds.
All right. I'm going to give this a solid 3.14.
Nice.
Venom was very hungry. It made me think of pie. And I think that it was closer to exactly what I wanted from it than anything else. I'm not going to revisit it particularly often.
Sure.
But, like, what a great thing to have on. In a pandemic world, what a great thing to have on while you're on a Discord call with your friends. Like,
Sure.
you don't need to track it. Great times.
Yeah. Fair.
Cool.
Matt?
I'm going to go 2.6 chickens out of 5. I did enjoy myself. I give this a little bit better than average score, but not much. I mentioned my problem with too many arms. That brings down the score a little bit. But yeah, 2.6, solid movie. Not great, but yeah, it was fine.
If the grading rubric was Carnage Arms, what would your score be?
0.2.
Okay.
Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying if we graded only based on the number of Carnage Arms in the
No,
movie.
instead of chickens, we were talking about Carnage
yes.
Arms.
Well, it would still be the same score,
Okay.
but I would not be as happy as I am.
Okay.
I'm gonna land on the number that first popped in my head. I'm gonna land on a 2.9. I think it was an enjoyable time. Do I need to necessarily make the argument for anyone to see this in theaters? I don't really think so. Like, this is definitely a streamable movie whenever it becomes available. If you're not theater ready or you don't want to spend the money, but if you're a rewards member like us and it doesn't really cost you really that much to go see a movie, then I say go for it. Why not? But this is definitely a streamable, perfectly content movie. And take it back to the streets, like I said. So I had a fun time for the movie, fun time with the friends I was with. So that's all you can really ask for.
That is all you can ask for.
I feel like this is one of those where, like, if you were going to see it, you were going to see it. Like, no review in the world is swaying you.
Correct.
One way or the other. And I think that's, again, there's just a place in the world for that.
Sure.
Yes.
Agree. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with special guest Eden Cummins, where we reviewed Venom.
Let There Be Carnage.
Let There Be Carnage. I did not take any drugs tonight. I apologize, Dan Domer. This isn't my finest hour. Yes, and we gave it an average rating of 2.88 chickens out of 5, which is fine, decent rating. I agree with Todd. You don't have to really see this in theaters, but if you like comic book movies, you probably will watch this one, and that's great. Thank you for listening to our podcast. We will continue to make podcasts, and you just keep on downloading them and listening to them on our behalf. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Da 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 da
Da-da.
da da da
Da-da-da.